I just saw something cross in front of that. Okay, I just saw something go across the ceiling. My heart is beating so strong right now.
It's mimicking what we do to get others to interact with it.
Just touched me on the arm.
We're Amy and Adam, and this is Kindred Spirits Inside the Investigation. This investigation takes place at the Oddfellows compound in Liberty, Missouri, which is 5 buildings total.
The first reaction that you have when you step onto the property is the sheer size of it.
Yeah, the orphanage has been completely restored and renovated, but in the meantime, there's these 3 or 4 other buildings that are abandoned and falling apart, and as we have learned, they're very, very haunted. We've investigated at the Oddfellows compound many times over the years, and we've become close to Jesse, the owner, and his family, so it was really out of character for him to contact us and say that there was something scratching people and grabbing people and growling.
There was no reason for him to call us in if he didn't feel that the safety of the people on the property were at stake. They don't know what they're dealing with. I mean, they can't see it. They really have no control over it, especially when it's our friend.
Yeah, and that was kind of a new aspect to the investigation for us, is that these were our friends. It put a new pressure on the case that I don't know that we're always accustomed to.
So what's happening, right?
Yeah, so we're having a lot more activity in some of the other buildings. We're just trying to figure out what's happening and what we need to do about it, and we're not sure what it is.
Okay.
Take us right where we need to go.
We'll head right down.
The morgue at the Oddfellows compound has this weird feeling to it.
This time when we went down there, it felt different to me. It felt more oppressive. I could barely walk in the room, and it did feel like that area was kind of where whatever was happening there was growing and like hiding, and the nucleus of the haunting, like that's where it was coming from. It was very strange.
We even stopped talking about our tactics and what we were planning to do in the space.
We didn't want whatever it was to hear what we were doing next, because it was very calculating. It was like playing a game with us.
We investigated last night and crazy things happened, and I would love to get some information we can correlate with it.
We have someone who was in the old folks home who killed themselves.
Okay.
As we were researching the Oddfellows compound, we found this interesting case of a man who lost his mind and ended up shooting himself in the old folks home.
The newspaper reports, the death certificate, all has his name misspelled differently.
What's the name?
Fred, in some of the instances.
So when we went in, we actually asked for this man in particular, and we believe he answered us.
We heard there was an incident here where a man took his own life. Is that person still up here? This isn't the right room. Where is the right room? What number? Oh, I know.
I hear a number. It sounds almost like 13.
One, he told us what room he was in, and 2, he told us the correct name for him. It was Fred Leetsy.
And I think he was hungry to talk to somebody. I think his story was so mixed up through decades and decades of, misunderstanding and miscommunication. It shows a lack of sympathy towards someone who was in an aggressive mental state, who unfortunately took their own life.
No one would have talked about that man again, I feel like, if we hadn't kind of dredged him up and then actually addressed him and figured out what his real name was. The nursing home, it's one of those places where you always feel like someone's right behind you.
I think that building above any of the other ones has this constant interchange of communication between those that are living and those that have passed away, because it is so close to the building next to it. There's so much energy that's always just kind of bubbling up there.
What I will forever remember about this investigation was how we got set up and immediately saw something on the DVR and just went running into the nursing home to see what we were seeing. We saw a shadow figure at the end of the corridor just peeking its head out, and we needed to verify. We needed to see what it was. And so then not only did we see it on the DVR, but when we got out there, we could see this thing.
Take that.
I can see it.
I know, on the right side.
Yeah.
It is so rare to see an anomaly and then be able to 2 minutes later go and verify it with your own eyes. Like, I can't even think of a time when that's happened.
I think one of the weirdest things we experienced was the child spirits in a place where you didn't expect child spirits to be.
Is it trying to get us out of that area? You know, like the kid is like, yeah, like, you out, get out of that area.
Oh, yes.
We have encountered spirits that communicate with each other, like they know that each other exists. And this is one of those examples, which for us is a good thing. It's like having another investigator with us that's able to communicate with everyone else that's there. It was leading us away from wherever this negative dark entity was, because it was like, no, you guys, you gotta get out of here.
Right.
This is not okay for you. There is a fine, thin veil between the living and the dead. And when that happens, it's almost as if that veil is non-existent. We are in the same world with you.
Both of them could use some IR light.
Because of the power issue in those buildings, we'll be setting up wireless cameras to continually run even when we are not in them.
Hey, Amy, what do these cameras look like?
The Oddfellows compound was just a perfect example of how we would kind of use different equipment in different spaces, because we had all these different types of investigations and activity being reported. So we would use different equipment based on what those claims were.
What Boo Buddy does specifically is it reads EMF fluctuations, it reads vibrations, so if you touch the bear, if you hold its hand, it talks back. It also runs through a cycle of questions for EVP sessions, and maybe if that child spirit is looking at that teddy bear as a toy and talks back to the bear, we get activity. We find that if we use equipment that correlate with the spirit in the space, we tend to get more of a reaction.
What was very strange about some of the interactions we had, when you're in a place that's heavily investigated, like the Oddfellows compound is, the ghosts there are familiar with what you're using and they know how to manipulate it.
What is that?
What is that?
It just like totally stopped.
I literally just put new
I
batteries
saw you put new batteries in it.
in it. It drained that thing.
Entities will drain equipment and use that energy to manifest or to make other things happen.
The one thing that we really didn't get to talk about in the episode is that it was feeding on our worst fears. It took my walkie. When I tried to communicate with you, we were separated, and it would not allow me to communicate, which is one of my worst fears. It was playing on our worst fears because it knew how to get to us.
I think that the whole compound just had a very diverse group of spirits. We encountered the spirits of children. We encountered an intelligent type haunting of a person trying to reach out to us. We had something a lot darker and more negative. And you just don't see that all the time, where you walk into a space and you kind of have all these entities that run the gamut of like paranormal phenomenon. And yes, we took care of that darker entity, but everything else is still there.
Thanks for watching, and keep up with Kindred Spirits and more behind-the-scenes action on Travel Channel Go.